What's going on, guys? Today's video is all about file organization. I know it might sound boring, but I promise you this is one of the most important things to know to be a fast and efficient editor. I feel like file organization is one of those things that editors and people that deal with files on computers, we talk about, what settings we use in Premiere Pro, our shortcuts, all this and that, but no one really talks about file structure. And I know how important it is to structure your files in a way that allows you to easily access files from any date, any year, any project. And when done right, it'll save you so much time from having to unnecessarily go into a ton of different folders to try to find your file or project. You'll know exactly where to go right away. So yeah, that's really why I wanted to make this video, because I understand the importance of file organization and file management. And this is like the foundation to what I do. What does it mean to be an editor? An editor is someone that deals with files and creatively puts them together, in a timeline. How good of an editor can you really be if you're not able to very quickly access your files and know where everything is, right? I personally know many editors that just can't keep up with their workload, mainly because of how unorganized they are. They don't label things, they keep multiple files from different unrelated projects on the same drives, and they keep files from the same project in separate places. For example, they might have some files on their desktop and some on a drive, and they don't organize by date, making them spend much more time looking for files and setting themselves up for failure in the future when they have to go back and look for the footage or relink files within Premiere Pro. But yeah, file organization and file structure is something that I live by and something that I'm going to be preaching a lot about throughout this course. And to be straight up with you guys, if I wanted to work with one of you or hire you for a job in the future, I would love to see these organization skills implemented into your workflow. So with that being said, let's jump onto my computer. I want to walk you guys exactly through the file structure I use on my hard drives. All right, so let's open up my Glyph 7.6 terabyte drive here. Now, as you can see, I have a bunch of different folders here. These are all different trips and projects that I've done. Now, as you can see, the way that they are labeled is with a bunch of numbers at first, and those numbers are the date. So this one here, this is 19, that's 2019, the 12th month, December 23. So 2019, December 23, Bali. I always start my folders with the date here organized like this, because when I organize by name, it will list all of the folders in chronological order. That's worked really well for me, and it's a great way to look at all of your folders and know what year, what month, what day each project started at. Now, if we go into one of these folders, let's go into Saudi Arabia, we can look into this a bit further. As you can see, we have 4 different folders here. We have video, photo, project files, and temp. So now you might be wondering, why is video and photos separated into 2 folders? Why don't you just keep the photos and videos in the same folders, of the days that they were shot? And the reason I separate photos and videos is because when I'm done shooting a project, what I like to do is just take the video folder and drag it right into Premiere, and Premiere will have the exact same file structure that is within this video folder. It's going to have all of the main folders, all of the subfolders, the exact same layout. Now, if we have photos scattered in between each folder, especially raw photos, and Premiere will spend a ridiculous amount of time importing all of your files, because for some reason when you try to import CR2 files or any kind of raw photo files, it just takes so long. And then at the end, it just gives you a pop-up message saying that it couldn't import any of your raw photos, and a lot of that time was just wasted. So that's the reason I like to separate photo and video. I know some people like to have both their photo and video content in the same folders. I personally like to split it up, and it's worked really well for what I do. But let's go into the video folder here first, and let's check out the layout in here. Now, as you can see, there are 14 folders here, 2 weeks out in Saudi Arabia. And if we click the name, it'll organize everything in chronological order. And just like the previous folders, every single day starts with the date. This one's 2019, December 14th, and then a dash, and then a little bit of an explanation of what happened in that day, or, what was the main location that we shot in. Just so when I'm looking at the folder, I could be like, oh, I remember, this day here, we went and saw the tombs, and we also took a flight. Just a really brief description to summarize what content we captured in that day. Now, if we open up one of these folders, we can see we have a bunch of different cameras within this folder. In this case, we have the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, we have the GoPro Max, Race Drone, Mavic 2, and Mavic Air Jordan. Now, the reason this folder is called Mavic Air Jordan is because my friend Jordan was out there with us, and that was his Mavic Air. And because we had 2 Mavic Airs, I like to separate them with either the number numbers 1 and 2 or with the person's name at the end of it. That way we can differentiate who was using each camera. In this project, we had a couple Mavic Airs, so we separated them by name. And that's pretty much the structure of the entire trip. As you can see down here, I also have this time-lapse folder. This is a folder that I just keep all the time lapses from the entire trip. So the reason I like to have all my time lapses in one folder is because when I'm processing all the time lapses in DaVinci Resolve, I like to just be able to select all of them from the one folder and not have to scavenge for them among all the other folders in the project. I could just find all of them in one place and then process them very easily that way. Now let's go back to the main project folder. If we go into the photo folder, you'll see that it is the exact same structure, except in this folder, you'll only find photos from all the different cameras. In this one, we have the 5D, we got Mavic 2, and so on. Same kind of structure, except it's just with photos. Now within every single main project folder, like the Saudi Arabia one, I have a project files folder. This is the folder where I'm going to keep all of my project files. So any video related project files like After Effects, Premiere Pro, DaVinci Resolve, that's pretty much it. Any Photoshop or Lightroom or any photo related apps, I would save that kind of stuff within the photo folder. So not in this one. I typically just leave my project files for any video work. And as you can see in here, I have a bunch of copies of the Saudi Arabia project. I also have a folder here for After Effects. These are just the Adobe Premiere autosave folders and just the folders that Premiere automatically creates. So in the project files folder, you can see that I also have a bunch of different assets like sound effects and like lens flares, stuff like that. So anytime I'm working with any kind of extra assets like sound effects or whatever, I'm going to drag them into the project files folder first before dragging them into Premiere Pro, especially if you're going to be collaborating with other editors, you're going to be handing off your drive to other people. It's really, really important to have all the assets, all the files within the project file in one folder on one drive, because otherwise you will run into issues in the future when you're trying to locate files that aren't in your original project file folder. So it's definitely really good practice to keep everything in one place just so you can be as organized and efficient as possible. And now if we go back, you can also see that we have this temp folder. Temp just stands for temporary. Now what this temporary folder is used for is when I'm out in the field, when I'm out working, I'm filming all day. At the end of the day, I need to dump all of the cards from every single camera that I have. Now at the end of a big shooting day, I might have to dump like 8 or 10 cards, right? So the way that I dump all of my memory cards is I will remove all of my memory cards, put them next to my computer, plug them in one at a time. So let's say I plug in the Mavic 2 memory card, pops up on my computer. What I'll do is go into the memory card and I will rename the folder in there to Mavic 2. Then I will transfer that folder into the temporary folder on my drive, and then I'll wait for the transfer to complete. Once the transfer has completed, I will check both of the file sizes on both my hard drive and the memory card and make sure that they match up exactly. When I see that both of the file sizes are exactly the same, that's basically my clearance to format the memory card and eject it. Now I'll do that for every single memory card, always making sure that the file sizes are exactly the same on both the hard drive and the memory card before I wipe the memory card. Then I will have all my individual cameras within the temp folder, and then from there I'll be able to organize them into the video and photo folders on my drive at my own leisure. I'll be able to do that whenever I want. Good practice is to do it right away after you've dumped all of your cards in the temporary folder. Just start organizing those files right away. But in all honesty, if I'm on a big job, it's late at night, I need to get some sleep, I'll just dump everything into the temporary folder and then I'll leave it to the next day. But it's not going to be an issue because I've labeled everything and everything's organized within the temporary folder. All I have to do is go back in there and then just reorganize it into the folders on the drive. And because all those files are already on your drive, you don't actually have to wait for things to copy over. When you drag it into the video or photo folder, it will instantaneously move to that folder. So that method has definitely worked really well for me. Maybe if you're not working with so many cards, you don't have to use this method, but if you're dealing with a lot of information, this is the method that I've been using and it's worked really well for me. So it's not necessary for you guys to copy my structure exactly, but what is important is that you do have some kind of structured system to organize your files and that you stick to it, because without structure, you will run into issues in the future, and that is the last thing that I want you guys to have to deal with. But yeah, that's it for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something new, and I'll catch you in the next one.